Hi, welcome back to the second half of tonight's show where we're going to look forward to our game against Ulster and all the other Pro 14 action. So lads, we've lost our last two encounters up in Ravenhill.
Last time we were up in Ravenhill, we fucking threw away our chance of a final. It's as simple as that.
That's right, yeah.
Whether we'd have won the Pro 12 final, I doubt it, because that was Scarlett's trophy. But you know, difference between meeting and
Who
semi-final
knows?
and deep.
Aunties and balls and uncles
Yeah.
and, Ospreys came to the RDS, and maybe Scarlets wouldn't have won in Thomond Park, and who knows?
Anyway,
Anything could have happened.
We would have beaten Ospreys.
Yeah, and we would have also
And we went up there and we
set
played
records.
We played dozy rugby, really, really dozy rugby. So
Yeah.
And like they're going to...
We owed them one.
that's another hubris game. So it was.
Ulster are, they're on the verge of going out of Europe.
Yeah.
They have
Few injuries.
a few injuries. Like they're probably their best player, one of their best players is out for the rest of the season.
So yeah,
Their second best player was out. Is he back? John Dysel. Is he back?
I wouldn't call him their second best player now.
I thought he was excellent for them. He's been excellent for them.
Yeah,
I
he
wouldn't-
was good
I
too.
wouldn't put him-
Definitely added a fair bit of bulk in that
Yeah,
back row.
a bit of grit that was
I wouldn't
needed.
put him above Best, Henderson,
Oh, maybe not.
Piatow,
No, fair enough. I'd
Jackson
put him
if he
above
was
Piatow.
available.
I put him above Piatow.
Well,
Anyway.
they have many other problems anyway. So maybe this is the sort of they'll see this as let's take Leinster down a peg or two, like they.
Like they did last time.
Yeah.
Because we came off the back of a pretty good European performance. Okay,
Yeah.
it was a loss, but it was a good performance away from home against a big team. We were feeling really cocky about ourselves. Went up there and had our heads shoved up our arses.
I'd say we might have a decent team at this time now.
Yeah.
I'd say they'll be all rested the following week in Glasgow.
Yeah.
So I'd say we'll have, presuming everybody's fit, we'll have a decent.
Well, we should be concentrating on this game because
Should.
this game's in Ulster in a conference. Glasgow aren't.
That's
You
true
know?
as well.
And Sean O'Brien, who's
Reputed to be
rumours.
back again.
He won a shooting tournament at the weekend.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, he'll have to be shooting on all cylinders,
Oh, firing!
firing on all cylinders. Excuse
I would have
me.
gone with firing on all cylinders.
He'll need a few games to warm up for the autumn internationals. Surely, Uncle Joe will have him starting if he's fit.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. He's hopefully raring to go. Knock a few heads together up in Ulster
Mhm.
and disabuse them of any hopes they have of
Delusions
winning the
of
game.
competency.
I heard that Ringrose is out till December.
Ringrose is out and Nasiwa is out for 6 weeks as well.
I heard that 6
Yeah.
to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
And there was
Because
like last week, you just wonder why did they have press releases? Because last week he said, "Oh, East touch and go."
Yeah.
He, could be back for the match
He
against.
touched the
Montpellier.
door of the operating theatre and went into
And he
it.
went, and he was go.
You begin to be thinking, might we need a joker?
Well, your friend, Kiwi Pete, let us know that
That's right.
that James Lowe is going to be there for
Yeah.
at least another week because his team got into the final.
He's hardly going to be playing in either of the next two games anyway. I would have thought.
No, I think everybody thought he was going to be here for the Dragons match at best.
Yeah, well, I think that's again at best when he's going to be here. You
but-
hardly need him to take care of the Dragons in the RDS.
The thing is, we've got,
Hopefully.
with Ringrose out, with Easton Nasiwa out, Rory O'Loughlin has a bit of an injury as well.
Mm.
You're down to bare bones, as Big Sam would say,
Yeah.
in the centre. I mean, you got your one Noel Reid cracked fingernail away from disaster. So
shower slip.
it might be time to get an Andrew Goodman style player. Maybe not somebody who's going to be a starter, but somebody who's going to backfill.
Mm.
Get them in. Obviously, they'll have to be 3 months if you want to register them from Europe. But if you decide not to, just get them in for a month or two, just for the Pro 12. You got to do these things.
Then they might be looking at, let's have a look at our depth in who's coming through because,
He's injured.
but sure there's other kids coming through.
That's
as
what I'm
well,
talking about. Tom Daly.
Sure there's other kids coming through as well.
Well, there's a
Well, I was
couple
watching-
more O'Briens that might feature.
I was watching the
Put it this
18.
way, I'd rather give some fella coming through the academy an opportunity to play against the Dragons, for instance, than get some Safar in for a 3-month deal that's not going to play in Europe.
Possibly, if the injury times are as short as we're told they are, but you never know, and you don't want to leave yourself in a situation. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I reckon what's his name, Frawley, I saw him play at the weekend. He looks pretty good now. And he's a good inside centre.
Well, speaking of which, the A's did win.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
beat Cardiff Selection.
Yeah, I was Cardiff Blues Premiership Select. I was at the match. Yeah, they played well. They were more than good enough. Back row was good. It's funny. I always think about Peter Timmins. Nobody ever talks about him. You know, everybody. All the hype is always about every other back row in the thing,
Well, there's
and he
a lot
just
of them.
yeah.
Because
But he just
they're all
keeps,
internationals. The rest of them.
he's plodding along. He's still you know, he's a very good player for us. I was convinced if Brendan Byrne added another 10% to his throwing accuracy, he would be a world class hooker.
Brian,
What did I say,
Brendan.
Brian Byrne. If he added another 10% to his throwing, he'd be a world class hooker because he's just so dynamic.
Yeah.
He really, really is.
Well, like all our hookers seem to
That's
be.
a bit to say that they all have that.
Because Conan, obviously, we know he is.
Tracy.
Tracy
yeah.
is also very dynamic around the pitch,
Yeah.
and obviously Brian Byrne is
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's just something I know because he was standout the other night. Tommy O'Brien played well on the wing, very aggressive in defence, very aggressive in the ruck.
Isn't he a centre as well?
Well, he was playing on the wing. No, Tommy, that's Jimmy O'Brien, isn't it? Isn't
I
Jimmy
thought they
O'Brien
both
plays in the
played
centre?
centre.
Oh, anyway,
Obviously, play back three as well.
Yeah. Jordan Larmour played well-ish. It wasn't really a day for him. It was a very windy, blustery, rainy day. So I mean, it was a good performance. But I mean, yeah. For example, like Frawley was doing the goal kicking and the kicking from hand, even with Conor Marsh on the pitch. Cathal Marsh on the pitch. So it's obviously something that they're building him up for. So
Very young though.
he is very young, but he's in terms of inside centre, he's the next cab off the rank. You know,
Well, you could always, you could always move McFadden or Carney or
you could move McFadden in there. You could move Adam Byrne into outside centre. You know, there's things you could do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. All right, in
What
in
they
that
do
case.
do.
Well, looking at some of the other matches, obviously this is the weekend of a lot of the derbies.
Yeah.
Connacht host Munster. I think they won that game last season.
Yeah, wasn't it the first time in a long time that they'd won that game?
It'd be
Connacht
interesting to see how Bundy plays.
was
They're
that the
already-
year before?
Might have been the year. Oh no, I thought that might have been the year before.
They're already tilting their hips suggestively towards Tiernan O'Halloran, apparently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. To replace Zebo. So we'll see how that
Interesting.
works out. They'll be down there batting their eyes. I wonder will they be as successfully coquettish as Raj was last weekend?
Who knows?
I think Connacht could take them. Connacht are going to be one of those teams. They had a
How
bit
did
of
they get on at the weekend? I didn't see their
they won.
result.
They won.
Did they?
Didn't see the performance. Didn't see the match. But apparently they were. Keane was saying that they were getting kind of where they were getting closer to where he wants them to be, because I mean he's trying to instill a new way of playing, because they played that Pat Lam system was very it was almost messianic in its. It was almost like a cult, you know, that whole
Yeah.
thing. So they're having to be reprogrammed, for want of a better word, and that's going to take time. I mean, it took. We think
Pat
Leinster
Lam
were a
a few
great
years.
team. We think Leinster were a great team, you know, and they won a Heineken Cup and they got to a semi-final, and it took them a bunch of games to get it used to the new coach when Joe Schmidt came into a new system.
4.
I was about to say at least
Well,
4. Yeah.
you think
Well,
that.
by that time they'd lost the dressing room.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. But you think that Leinster, with their superstar players, would be a better team than Connacht, so they'd learn quicker. But you know, if Connacht if they have clicked, you know, it could be a dangerous game for Munster, because they're going to go into that bit of a hangover from the weekend. I don't think they're sure how to feel about the game against Racing. They're glad they won, but I don't think that there's that much else that they're happy about from it.
It was a bit. Well, we didn't spend much time on it. It was a bit of a slogfest, fair enough, and it was 0-0 at 60 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, that's a big, serious Racing team they had there,
And they're
you
still
know,
interested in the
and they're
competition.
still interested in the competition. I know it was in Thomond Park, and they had the Axel factor and all that kind of stuff. But I think that was fairly impressive that they put
Yeah.
them away.
Well, they didn't put them away, John.
But they
in
did-
fairness. They
The
didn't put them away.
scoreboard said at the end
They
that
got a fluky try, and then it ended up 7-0, or 2 other tries. I mean, it wasn't. They didn't
Yeah.
put them away.
they put them away.
They didn't
Whatever
put them
way.
to the sword. They barely put them to the little wooden stick that you keep your sandwich together with.
No, I like as far they won. We
They won.
rephrase it that way.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they themselves
That's all
know how to
putting
react
them
to
away
it.
means in my book.
They won. That's what I'm saying. They won, but I don't know what they think they can take. I don't think that they think that they can take an awful lot from the performance. That there's not something that they want to. They're not trumpeting the win. Now I'm talking about the Munster team and the coaches, etc. You know.
Well, both them and Leicester are on 6 points in
Yeah.
that group, and then you've got Racing on 5. So it's still a bit of a.
Oh, that group
It's
is
gonna
wide
be a
open.
dogfight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone except Castra, I think, is in that group.
Yeah.
Although they're on
They've
4.
2 points, haven't
They've two for the draw.
they? Yeah.
And did they get a 4-try bonus point from the game against Leicester? I think they might have
Don't
done.
know. That's 3.
Possibly.
It's 53-39,
Yeah,
wasn't
I
it?
think you're right. I
39.
think you're right. They're on
Yeah,
3.
so they're on 3 points. They're not wildly out of it yet themselves.
No.
So
Technically no, but
no.
Well, the other going back to the Pro 14 next weekend, the other Welsh teams are playing in their derbies. Ospreys take on the Dragons.
Good chance for Birch to show how
Yeah.
far they've come.
where is it?
It's in Swansea. So
Maybe
it might be a
not
bit
so.
tricky.
After their 2.
Neither team playing out of that stadium is having a particularly good time at the moment.
No.
So
And Scarlets take on Cardiff.
Scarlets.
Scarlets.
You'll be pleased to know. Did you notice, by the way? Sorry, I meant to say this to you. You again. We talked about it last week. The ragdoll
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
was in position.
It was. Yeah.
Was it?
It
I
was.
didn't see
Yeah,
it,
it was in position, strapped to a post.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Was
Friday
it dangling
night game.
from the
Tied to.
tie to post?
Yeah.
They used to dangle it from the.
You couldn't dangle it
crossbar.
from anything.
With the wind,
weather.
was
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It was a very, very wet
yeah.
and windy game.
But it was a raggedy old ragdoll. It
But
was-
did the same trick. They just out-muscled
Yeah,
Scarlets.
yeah. We didn't talk about that
They,
game, actually.
they played Scarlets the way we played
Yeah.
Glasgow. They just went for they
Yeah.
strangled the life out of them.
kept their 6 penalties, 6 kicks from Reece Priestland, who was
Yeah.
very, very good. Scarlets did score probably the best try of the weekend, though, or certainly one of them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that one actually. live.
Lovely try. Steph Evans is in
He's a
amazing
great
form at
player,
the
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then we have the two Scottish teams take on the Italian teams. So Glasgow host the Kings. Presumably they're going to get back on the winning ways or keep on the winning ways.
Mhm.
They're unbeaten in the Pro 14, which, you know, when you think that they've got no points in their European group and they're unbeaten so far in the Pro 14, like it's a bit, isn't it?
it's a bit schizophrenic of them.
But like once again, the Scottish team is just underperforming in Europe. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I can think of maybe 2 seasons that a Scottish team has come out of after whatever 20 odd years of European rugby. 2 seasons that the Scottish team has come out.
Edinburgh 1 year.
Edinburgh when they got to the
Glasgow
semi-final,
last
and
year.
Glasgow last
That's
year.
the last year. Yeah.
And they lost to Saracens.
And like you have to say, the Welsh teams aren't fairly prolific coming out of the pool stages either.
Ospreys have been to a few quarterfinals.
Well, like, you know,
Cardiff.
Cardiff
Going
got
back
semi.
before
But,
Cardiff.
but generally speaking, they had 4 teams in the competition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or 3 anyway. Certainly 3 or 4.
3, yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 at one point.
That's right.
And the other game, of course, is Ebre Cheetahs. So like that might be that's
An
in
interesting one.
Italy. Yeah, it'd be an interesting
It's
one.
Edinburgh playing Cheetahs.
Yeah.
Mm.
Who are Edinburgh playing then?
And I don't actually have. Oh, I do. Sorry, Treviso.
So Glasgow. Okay, I got you there. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all caught up.
You okay now?
Yeah.
Good. John, so you have a question from.
I have
Twitter?
actually. It goes back to the Simon Zebo's situation, and it's from Colin Meehan, who asks, and it's about kind of like the IRFU player selection policy. Does Joe select a departing Simon Zebo, a returning Tyg Byrne, or both, or neither?
Yeah, well, Zebo's going to be around for the Six Nations, so I don't see why you wouldn't play him.
He's a resource. Use them.
He's a resource.
Still a
and
paid up employee. Like they
Yeah,
used
yeah.
Donica Ryan last
That's
season.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd have no.
well,
I don't
they
know.
didn't know he was. Maybe they knew he was going, but I don't think it was widely known he was going at that stage. But
He's on our books. We may as well
Yeah.
Tyg Byrne is
exploit
not
him.
like. I don't think we're that stuck for second rows, and we're definitely not. I know he's playing 8 the last 3 games or so. They're definitely
And-
not
and
struck
well
for.
at 8.
Yeah, he is. He really suits the Scarlets team. Hopefully, he suits Munster just as well.
Yeah.
Because
Munster are getting a very rounded player.
I think he could be a good dynamic foil to, as I was saying last week, to your man Klein.
Yeah.
You know, him being the big kind of enforcer, and Byrne being the more rangy, the Victor Matfield to his back East Bota. You never know.
It might be a bit hyperbolic, John.
Well, I don't mean that they're as good as those two players. I just mean that the types of players. One is athletic, and
Yeah, no.
the other
And
one
one's
is
a grunter.
a grunter. I'm not comparing the quality with those players.
I think that Simon Zebo is playing within the Irish system, and therefore there shouldn't be any restriction on Joe selecting him. Tyg Byrne isn't playing within the Irish system and isn't quite, at this point, good enough to be an exception. So therefore, I don't think Joe will select him.
Yeah.
That would be my...
I concur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think there hasn't been too many players playing abroad that have starred for. I mean, like Trevor Brennan he was playing for back in the day.
Trevor, you're dead to me.
There was a lot of that, you know, and like he was starring in a team that was winning Europe
Oh, yeah,
on a fairly consistent
Fairness,
basis.
I think he
weren't
burned a
exactly-
few bridges
we-
himself,
yeah.
though.
And we weren't exactly short of second rows.
Mm.
I mean, we had Paul O'Connell, Donnacha O'Callaghan, Malcolm O'Kelly.
Yeah.
But
They were all Lions.
Trevor
Then
was
you-
a 6 back then as well.
Then you had Leo Cullen. You know, we weren't...
No, that's fair. That's a fair enough point. But then you Jordan Murphy, who rarely played. I mean,
But he was one of those exceptions. Him, Tommy Bowe, and Sexton.
okay, but put it
That's
this way,
pretty much
like
it.
Gervin Dempsey, right?
Easterby.
Gervin Dempsey had probably 90 caps for Ireland.
I think he got 82.
Okay, 82. I'd say he has
Few
20,
less.
20 more than Murphy.
I think it's about... I think it comes out at a dozen, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, about
Um,
that, yeah.
And Murphy was injured for a very long time.
Murphy was a line,
Yeah.
and Dempsey wasn't. I'm not going to say he was miles away. I'd
No.
say he was pretty close, but he
If,
wasn't a
if you
line.
actually look at the amount of time that Jordan Dempsey,
Dempsey.
that's the ideal player. Jordan Murphy was injured. His actually cap total stacks up on top, pretty much the same as Gervin Dempsey's.
Yeah, a lot of his were sub though.
Yeah,
Did
well,
come on.
possibly. But there was no exclusion,
No.
you know. And
But
There
don't
still
forget-
isn't. Technically, there's still no
like,
exclusion.
I'm not trying to. But every kind of generation or every couple of years, you've some player like say Sexton, right? He was the exceptional
yeah,
out half, and we don't have another one. Like the next one down is considerably a worse player than Sexton,
Mhm.
and I hope I'm not being.
no,
too
I don't
harsh,
think.
but
I mean, Pat Jackson's a very fine player, but
he
Johnny
is, but
Sexton's
there's
world
miles
class.
difference
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the two of them. Then you have, but like you say, you Jordan Murphy. Now he got an awful lot of hype in the UK. We didn't see him quite as often as if he was Gervin Dempsey or whoever playing fullback for Connacht, Munster or Ulster. But you know he was
Kevin Duffy, Sean Payne, Bryn Cunningham.
okay. But he was regularly on the Aviva Guinness Premiership at the times team of the season.
Mhm.
He was playing in a very successful Leicester Tigers team. I mean, he wasn't turning out regularly for, you know,
Crew Alexandra.
or Sale or one of
Yeah.
a team that's struggling with staying up in the Premiership. And then obviously you've got a couple of other lads who, like say Trevor was playing over in France again on a very exceptional team, but it was so few of those players were picked for Ireland over the years. Like there's only a handful of them. Tommy Bowe was.
But first of all, there's only a handful went away. If
Does
you
it?
think about it,
Well,
of
there's-
top
no,
guys, there's only a
of
handful of
top-
top guys. I mean, you're
Well,
talking.
like,
I mean,
Jordan-
Jordan Murphy never went away because
No.
he was never in the system in the
Exactly,
first place. You got Trevor Brennan, you've got Tommy Bowe, you've got. You can't say the Easterleys because they were never in the system.
But I'm just going back to Trevor. Like Trevor went when he was sub for Leinster. Like he developed into a far better player in Toulouse
Oh,
than
absolutely,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
a Leinster player.
Yeah.
So go on.
But if you look at the, for example, the player I think hard done by the foot. I mean, Jordan Murphy, for example, was a regular first choice or a starter for Ireland until he broke his leg, and there was a big difference between pre-broken leg and
Yeah.
post-broken leg Jordan Murphy, and Eddie O'Sullivan just wasn't going to tolerate that kind of defensive frailty. He just wasn't. I mean, that's the end of it. The guy I feel sorry for in that period, the fullback I feel sorry for in that period, is actually Sean Payne, who I thought was a superb fullback and was very, very unfortunate to be around at the same time as Dempsey.
I'm
And
surprised he never got one cap even
Yeah.
against the Fiji or.
Was he?
he was lined up to be picked. Jordan Murphy.
Was he qualified? Did
Yes, he
go?
was. Yes, he
Did
was
not?
he was qualified by birth. His father was his parents, true parentage. He came over. He came
I thought
north.
he had played for a junior All Blacks.
No,
or
he came.
something,
He
or-
came north.
Sorry,
Springboks.
Springboks.
He came north to come into the Irish system, and he was playing with Swansea because obviously he could work there. And then when Ireland kind of decided to bring players home, he came back to Munster. But I thought he was very unlucky. The game against France, he was. If you remember, Gervin Dempsey, Jordan Murphy got injured. Gervin Dempsey was radically out of form. It would have been 2005-ish. Remember, he lost a lot of form around then. So Sean Payne was penciled in to start. Did his hammer, I think, on a Wednesday, and Gervin Dempsey had to start, and actually played really, really well. It was one of those games where you've no choice, you play well, and kind of played himself back into the selection. So he was very, very unlucky not to get a single cap. I thought he was a superb player.
In reality, though, it's not like New Zealand. There is actually no policy that says we can't play overseas players. In practice, it's rare it's going to happen. But like, if there's a
Well, there
massive,
may well be a policy, John. We just don't know it.
well, if there's a massive slip, well, they say there isn't. There's a massive slip
Say
in the
Sean O'Brien was fit last week.
if there's a massive slip in the shower syndrome between all the tight heads, Marty Moore could actually get a call up. If there was a massive slip in the shower syndrome with all the out halves, Ian Madigan
You see,
could
that's-
get a call up.
That was the thing. You see,
They're
we
both capped internationals. There's
we
no
didn't-
rule saying they can't.
we
play.
didn't hoist ourselves on a flagpole like what Welsh did. You know, by publishing all the Gatlin's law and all this, and this is what we're going to do. If by not making it a formal statement about it, you kind of leave yourself wiggle room, which I
But
think is
the IRFU
the
are
intelligent
very
thing to
clever
do.
in things
Oh,
like
absolutely.
that.
I 100% agree with their policy.
Yeah, but Joe Schmidt has said it publicly that there isn't a policy
Yeah.
of
And
not.
so is Eddie O'Sullivan, who probably had. Joe Schmidt is still an employee of the IRFU. Eddie O'Sullivan has a bit of an axe to grind with them, and even as late as tonight, he said it on Off the Ball.
I don't think there is a. I don't think that there's a. I think
Is that?
you don't have to have a formal policy, but you can still lean down on fellas. You know, I mean,
But I'm sure. I mean, like as you know, as common sense would have it, like if you start saying, "Oh yeah, we'll pick anyone wherever you play, lads,"
everyone's gone.
well then you see you later. Like, I mean, do you think CJ's going to hang around? Do you think?
No, absolutely, yeah.
You know, you can go through the list of every good
I'm sure
player
some of them
that's-
would hang around.
I'm sure they would, but like,
yeah, I know, I agree with you.
Like Tyke Furlongs.
We'd be like Wales, where there'd be 5, 6, 7 top players playing in France and England.
Yeah.
Easy.
You know,
No, I agree entirely with the IRFU policy on this. I think it's the right policy. It's the right policy for Irish rugby, which is the important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very unfortunate that Leinster lost Ian Madigan. It's very unfortunate that we leading this far out of it that Ulster lost Pienaar. It's very unfortunate that Munster are losing
Well, is it though?
Zebo. Well, it's
Like,
it's
I'd
unfortunate.
ra-
Sorry,
like,
it's unfortunate
I'd
for
rather
those.
see an Irish guy.
What I'm going to say, it's unfortunate for those teams that they've lost
Yes.
these players, right? But in the bigger picture, I don't think it's anything more than a butterfly's wings flapping in Tokyo, really, in terms of the effect. I mean, it might have some quantum effect, but it's not going to have a massive immediate effect. I mean, the immediate effect of Ulster is as we've seen, they've got in, you know, as a funny enough, they got in Cooney, but they also had to get in a far and out half, but that's either here or there. Zebo, if that moves Tiernan O'Halloran down and another player gets a shot in Connacht, you know, that'll be the
what's his
thing.
name? Kelleher.
Yeah, Kelleher. In Leinster, we've seen that Madigan's gone. We've had Cathal Marsh, Joey Carberry, and Ross Byrne have had an opportunity. So,
Like you see, we only.
Sorry. In micro, yes, it is. It's a pain in the hole. But the macro view is, you know, out of those 3 moves, 6 players have come through.
Yeah, but like, and we see the guys for 80 minutes every second week live. And we watch the other match on telly or go over whatever to the game.
We're not in training
But
every
we don't see,
day.
and there's guys that it's their job, it's their livelihood to see young kids coming through the system, to spot them and to earmark them for, and maybe even fast track them. Like for instance, Ian Madigan was offered silly money. Now, I'm sure he had the opportunity to turn it. Obviously, he had the opportunity to turn it down and stay. But not only is he looking forward to say, well, I can't. It's very difficult to refuse that sort of money. The IRFU are probably looking behind him and saying, well, like, look, this kid Joey Carberry's coming up. I know he's playing full back, but Madigan played full back for quite some time. Sexton was returning home.
Ross Byrne.
And you've got a kid like Ross Byrne, and I'm sure that there's, you know, a fella that's doing his leaving cert now that they're looking at.
Well, you can be certain that they looked at Ian Madigan and they saw that there was Ian Madigan. But then behind him, there was the guys that Leinster you mentioned. There's guys like Conor Dean, who was probably in school at the time. They had Tyler Blandall on a fast track in Munster. The plan was probably in advance to bring JJ Hanrahan home. They had Paddy Jackson up in Ulster, you know, and what's his name? Johnny McPhillips, is that his name? Up in Ulster. So they were kind of thinking, well, actually, no, if we take this one guy out, we actually get a multiplier of 3. It's the same with Zebo, it's the same with Pienaar. You know, by moving people around, you get a kind of a multiplier. So you have to remember there's 2 hats to wear. You see, with your provincial team hat on, it's an absolute pain in the arse. With your national team hat on, it's the right thing to do. So, you know, there's the micro and macro effect.
Yeah, it is. It's very true. Anyway, Dave and John, thanks very much, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.